Good morning, everyone. It is day 4 in Utah, and the start of what I might also call in part my touristy section of the trip, because I have never been to this region of the country, and so I am taking advantage of visiting a few of the national parks that are in the state. And the first one today is Bryce Canyon National Park. It is currently a balmy 56 degrees Fahrenheit at the 9,100 feet in elevation that I am at right now. Quite cool, although ironically, just the right temperature for finding mountain kings if I were elsewhere. They've never been recorded on this plateau, but I really don't see any reason why they wouldn't be here, since it connects almost directly to areas where they have been found, and it's the right elevation. There's plenty of good habitat out here. Just need to find places, I guess, where they might choose to inhabit. Most likely on the southwestern side of the plateau would be my guess. We are on the eastern side here, where the Bryce Canyon area flows out into the greater Colorado drainage.
If you're paying attention out either side of the cart as you drive down the road through Bryce Canyon National Park, you'll get hints of what you're about to see at the end. But if you just go down and then you park at the end, you just start walking through the forest, you don't really see the true majesty of the park until you reach the overlooks. Of course, the majesty would have been a little more awe-inspiring without a bunch of kids screaming right next to me at the time. It is a bit of a popular park, particularly during summer, because it's the coolest one in this part of Utah, being high elevation, so much cooler than places like Zion. Bryce Canyon sits at the very top of what's called the Grand Staircase, a huge sweeping range of subsequent sections of the Colorado Plateau, dropping down lower and lower in elevation through different sections of the built-up rock. So basically, as you drive from Bryce Canyon all the way down into Grand Canyon National Park in Arizona, you see different colored layers in the rocks traveling through different sections of prehistory, from the most recent, the latest deposits in Bryce Canyon, down to the most ancient, billions of years old rocks in the Grand Canyon. From oranges to sandstone yellows and pinks to vermilion red in the Vermilion Cliffs. Colors of every kind.
And here's one that I'm really familiar with from back home in the mountains. These are arnicas, basically high elevation sunflowers. Absolutely gorgeous blooms, and they are everywhere in flower up here at the moment. There's also a handful of smaller blooms, like whatever this thing is. Come on, focus. There we go. Could be just a grass, could be a onion relative, I'm not sure, and other asters. And also, it seems I'm just a little bit early for some of the local clematis that live out here. This isn't it, but I've seen a fair few vines with buds. They're not quite open yet.
I only had a brief time to visit this park because I had many other places to be later that day, but if you had the opportunity, I do suggest spending at least a full day, if not a couple, in the park, taking some of the hikes that you can down through the hoodoos, because this is definitely a place that you can't really experience properly in just an hour or two, although you can get a pretty good look out over the massive canyon that it's named for.
national parks themselves are not the only thing to be seen out here either. As you head west from Bryce Canyon, as I am doing, heading towards the next national park that I'm going to visit, you will drive straight through another, I'm not sure if they class as a state park or just part of state forest land, but this is the Red Canyon. Beautiful sculpted area, rich sandstone cliffs, and thanks to the rains recently, there's actually water running through here. Normally this is a completely dry zone, but as you go deeper in, there are some incredible rock formations that you'll pass by as well. We'll come up on them a little later and I'll probably stop for a photo or two. So we're just going to take a stop here for a minute, walk around a little bit. Bryce Canyon is famous for its hooties, but you can see them in the Red Canyon here as well.
So something that I only became aware of just as I was leaving, this Red Canyon, formed from Claren limestone, different color than you'd probably usually associate from limestone, I'm sure, is actually home to some very unique endemic species of plants that are found nowhere else. So if you're a botanist, like I am, it's another reason to stop here and spend a day or two in just this area, where there are campsites, there are places to hike, and plenty of places for beautiful photos.
Now we're approaching Zion, and it's pretty obvious that there's something special to be seen up this way, just from what we can see from the road that passes by. And we got friends on the side of the hill here. Those are desert bighorns, endangered species.
I entered from the east side of the park, which I do recommend. However, caution, traffic may be pretty bad at times, even in the middle of the week, and not just because of animals that might be on the roads. However, it's a worth it drive even with that. The rock formations are like nothing I have ever seen anywhere else.
And we got some more over here. I don't know if they're actually coming down. Are you going to come down in front of me? You are. Oh, that's so cool. Okay, there's one. Hello, sir. Beautiful penstemon. That's quite a different experience.
The main tunnel, the Zion Mount Carmel tunnel, is probably over half a mile long, maybe more than that, and quite an experience driving through because you get glimpses out the sides of the canyon walls as you're passing by, and then as you come out the other side, you get these views, your first glimpses into the main canyon of Zion National Park. And it is a canyon that you can only experience properly in person. There is no way to describe the sheer sense of scale that you get when standing between these walls.
Canyon Valley.
To try and give at least some scale here, in this first photo, Angel's Landing, from the floor of the canyon to the top is over 2,000 feet. In the Temple of Sinawa amphitheater at the head of the shuttle route is over 3,000 feet from the base to the top of the canyon before you head into the Narrows.
So something I was unaware of is if you show up in Zion during spring or summer, you will have to take a shuttle if you want to go into the main canyon following the Virgin River, but I'd say it's worth it. Those cliffs go straight up at least 1,500 to 2,000 feet to start, and some of them are over 4,000 feet high. It is an incredible place.
And absolutely full of wildlife as well. Maybe not a whole lot of animals from where we were, probably due to a lot of people being there, but certainly wildflowers everywhere. An incredible array, including some species of flowers that are found nowhere else except for the Weeping Rock Seeps within the canyon. Unique areas where water has been coming down through the rocks for thousands of years before seeping out onto the face, where columbines and monkey flowers and ferns and other unique things live there, and allow space for unique species such as the Zion snail, which is found nowhere else to live. Also, there were a lot of squirrels that enjoyed trying to pilfer food from the local people.
Right over the rock there. We can see in the hanging gardens all along the trail already. Very mossy, very wet, very beautiful. It's a completely otherworldly feeling as you get up close to where the Narrows are. The Narrows themselves are closed because of the river volume, but and there's a squirrel that's trying to get someone to feed him. Not for you, sir. The Narrows would be an amazing place to walk through one day, because you got the 3,000 foot canyon walls, and they're only 20 feet across in some places. We won't get to see that today, but maybe one day. Do some of these pretty flowers real quick. Beautiful. Got one of the weeping walls here. Beautiful. And right up there is the Narrows. This is as far as we can go. Because, well, the river's kind of a little too high to get to the rest of the pathway. Way up there.
Being that in many places the canyon is over 2,000 feet tall but only 20 feet wide, this is a land of near perpetual shade. So the water that is coming down through the river comes from snow, meltwater high up in the mountains, and it stays at maybe 35-40 degrees all the way down. It is freezing cold. And the plants that grow here have to be tough and deal with very small amounts of sunshine through the day. So ferns are very common, and they are exquisitely lush across the landscape. Trying to give one more shot sense of scale in this photo here, probably still not capturing it right though. Anyway, as I came back down out of the canyon, I did finally find a reptile, briefly, before we headed out towards the southwest corner of Utah, where we enter into the true Mojave Desert, a land of Joshua trees and yuccas and a whole lot less foliage. Unfortunately, wildlife was extremely sparse on the ground, and we called it a night, or I called it a night after several hours of fruitless searching. Next morning, got up to head to a far less visited part of Zion.
Alright, so after the extreme disappointment that was last night, we are starting early for a little hike in another section of Zion National Park that a lot of people might not be familiar with. This is the Kolob Canyons. It is about 68 degrees up here right now. And we're gonna go see if we can get lucky with a king.
Just like the inner reaches of the main Zion Canyon, the Kolob Canyons region of the park is a place you can go to feel like it is winter or spring all year round. The deep canyons are full of wildflowers that would normally be completely done blooming elsewhere in this far southern part of the state, and it is high enough up and the canyons shade it well enough that snow is present within the canyons all the time. I didn't have to go into the canyon very far to start seeing some reptile life, however, mostly just lizards. The ever-present sagebrush lizard primarily, as well as a few other beautiful wildflowers. And also, this is another region where there's hanging gardens everywhere. Any place where the cliffs cut down just a little bit lower, water seeps out between the cracks in the rock and flows over the edges to provide an incredible spillover of lush foliage on the otherwise barren red rock.
You didn't know better. You just stayed looking down. You never realized right here where you actually were. This looks almost like an eastern forest. Oh, let's see, where does the trail actually... Oh, the trail goes over there. There's permanent water here again. We're standing on old snow melt. Old snow here. Built up from previous season. I hear water up ahead. Can hardly go further though. Let's see. Looks like there's a better trail up this way, maybe? Or is it? Actually, I might be up that way. Over the crunchy tree. Stuff is barely waking up over here too, because they have sun for so little time. And it's so high up. Right down from the glacier. Not really a glacier, of course, but as close as you'll get down here. It is high elevation. It is cold. And everything else up there is covered in snow. Wow.
There are very few places where you can say you were just in the 100-degree Mojave Desert an hour beforehand, and now you're standing on top of snowpack.
So up here, about the only thing we're finding are the lizards that are running away. And a male trying to court the female, I think. There's the first different lizard we've seen, although not a very good look. One of the whiptails. That's the first one I think I've seen since like the first day down here in Utah altogether.
After that guy though, we were back to the car and no more reptiles were seen in that area. It was time also to head off to the next park that I had interest in seeing, Capitol Reef National Park. A bit of a drive up into kind of the south central part of Utah to where the eastern part of the Great Basin meets the central ridge of mountains, where a great cataclysmic event caused the rocks there to lift up and crack open, exposing huge layers of stone of all sorts of different colors.
So down that way is Capitol Gorge. There is a dirt road to follow, but not sure if I'm willing to take that drive since I've got very little time out here. It's quite impressive driving along this though. Water pocket fold. Be really interesting to find one of the actual little pocket tanks that is supposed to be out here that holds water year round, because that's where animals will probably congregate. It's also quite a distinct difference from the upper part of Zion where I was earlier, where it was at most 69 degrees Fahrenheit. I've already seen it hit 83 down here. And windy.
Here too though, there were a handful of early desert wildflowers that were in bloom, but not a whole lot of reptiles, so spent a little time enjoying the scenery. It is a place that is absolutely beautiful and I do recommend visiting. I drove down that little Capitol Gorge Road a short ways to see, but then headed back out and started down the highway. Now this part of Utah really hammers home that there's almost no place in the state where you can drive where there isn't something beautiful to look at. There was the Cathedral Valley up north of the highway as I drove out, and then as you head south towards the Glen Canyon Recreation Area, the entire region is just bright sandstone reds and cliffs and washes that you drive into and around. Every angle is a different photo, is a different painting.
Alright, so it's a little on the windy side. I hope you can hear me on this part at least. I'll probably record over as I pan, but have you ever wanted to take a drive through the Grand Canyon, but know that they don't have a highway down there? Come to Glen Canyon Recreation Area instead. It's basically just the northern cousin.
And passing out of the Glen Canyon Recreation Area, you immediately enter as you continue south-southeast into the Bears Ears National Monument, or at least the very edges of it. Another place filled with incredible mountainscapes, interesting rock formations at every angle, and beautiful, especially as the sun begins to set. I spent a little time here, stopped, took a couple of photos, and then visited another monument that a lot of people might not be aware of down here, Natural Bridges National Monument.
To come back here because there are trails down to the bridges. That's a much more impressively sized one.
You might call this area a lesser-known cousin of Arches National Park. Formed from the next sandstone layer down in the Grand Staircase, it's the same general idea though, wind and water washed away against these ridges and outlines in the rocks until within those little bowls, the rock collapsed, forming bridges.
Alright, I took the plunge and took a slightly shorter hike to the third bridge that's available for seeing in this park. These are quite a different type of bridge than the sorts you'll see in like Arches tomorrow, as these are built from the white sandstone that's actually below that layer in structure. It's quite a beautiful place. Just wish there was more reptile life going on. I have seen a couple side blotch lizards, which I haven't seen since California, but not a whole lot else.
After leaving this park, I took a less commonly taken route almost directly south across the big mesa that is out here to a point where the road literally drops straight down the face of the cliff into Monument Valley. A beautiful location. As the sun was setting though, after 2 long days, I was just about out of hope that I would see anything really exciting. I decided though at the very last minute, just as temperatures were dropping to the mid-60s and I was heading on the last highway stretch, turn off on a little side road, see if something might be there, and 100 feet down that road.
Can't believe this, people. I was just ready to give up. Been out here all day long. And that right there is another snake. And out here, this is a very special one. This is what they used to call the Hopi rattlesnake. So I'm gonna get the other light on and get some film. First snake in 2 days. This is currently just what's called Crotalus viridis, the prairie rattlesnake. But at one point, these guys were classed as a subspecies of their own. Used to be subspecies Nuntius. This is the Hopi rattlesnake. They are a slightly dwarfed and often very pinkish animal. You can kind of see that in his pattern here. This would be about as big as they get because he's almost 3 feet long. They used to be classed as a subspecies because they were smaller and kind of that different coloration. But, as it turns out, it's more kind of climatic, elevationally induced. If you go into higher elevation areas within this same region, you will find the larger and usually paler yellowish or green animals that are the typical prairie rattlesnake. Whereas out here on the flats, these guys get a little smaller because it's drier, it's hotter, and of course pink because the soils out here are often very, very pinkish. So this was one of the things I was wanting to find out here. It's why I came down to this corner actually. So I'm glad that late at night we have finally pulled it off. So we're going to get a couple more photos and then hopefully get him to move off the road somehow, since I'm technically not supposed to touch him at all.
Yes, at the 11th hour, finally had a snake. A beautiful animal that, at between 2 and 3 feet long, is the absolute maximum that this former subspecies used to be. And with pale colors that are kind of reminiscent of their close and close by relative, the midget faded. Perhaps an echo of old hybridization, perhaps?
Alright, so it looks like just walking behind him will get him to move on. He is quite the beautiful snake. He's being slow though. Let's keep moving, dude. We don't want anyone coming through running you over. Kind of nice that you're going on your own though, because I really am not allowed to do anything to really move you along. Come on, keep going. You want to go that way. No, you want to go off the road. Shoo shoo. I hear bats around here. Alright, we'll see if we can keep watch, keep him moving off the road in a little bit here. I'm going to turn the camera off though. Or wait, There he goes. There he goes. Well, starting to think that we would end up showing every single one of the parks I'm visiting all in one video before I'd find another snake, so glad we finally found a new one tonight. And a beautiful snake it was, too. Anyway, you might notice I am filming myself in the dark here. Apparently, the hotel that I'm staying at, the city that it's in, has been put under a scheduled power outage all night long, basically, for a power company to set something up. I don't even know what is going on really, but it's annoying. Nothing works in here, of course, and it's getting warm. There's no means to heat up food, so I'll have to see what I can do. Anyway, hopefully tomorrow will be a little better, though. There's 2 more parks that I'm going to be visiting, and then I'm hopefully going to be able to scrounge up some stuff as I drive up the Colorado River Valley back towards home. So fingers crossed we'll find some of the animals that I missed on the first day in. But until next time, if you like seeing educational videos and nature documentaries and such like this, consider joining as a patron at patreon.com/hcarlton. Members there do get special benefits back, including early access to the videos, access to the seed contests that I do every month there. There's exclusive merchandise for different tiers. If you can't do a monthly subscription such as that, there's always one-time donations that can be made at Coffee. That link will also be in the video description below, along with there's the links to the website, carltoncarnivores.com, where you can also buy the plants that I have for sale, sometimes baby reptiles, the snakeskin jewelry that I make. And of course, if you can't support financially, simply liking and subscribing, sharing the videos here on the channel helps give support to the channel. And of course, if you'd like to see more little photos, sometimes little video clips or other information, there's the database and blog on the website as well for info. And of course, you can find me on social media at Carlton Carnivores on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. But until next time, I'm Hawk and Carlton, and this is Carlton Carnivores.